committee members, we welcome the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to the third talk series. On behalf of all the committee members, we welcome the distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to the third talk series for career guidance organized by Guidance and Counseling Unit. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good evening to all the viewers out there. The Most Honorable Mr. Christian M. Lakza, licensed teacher at the La Salle Integrated School, Manila, Philippines. The Honorable Puan Ainun binti Muhammad Asari, Headmaster of SK Taman Segar, Kuala Lumpur. The Honorable Puan Rohani binti Abdul Rahman, Headmaster of SK Bukit Jalil, Kuala Lumpur. The Honorable Puan Asmah binti Kasim, Headmaster of SK Nong Chik, Johor. Senior teachers from SK Taman Segar. Senior teachers from SK Bukit Jalil. Senior teachers from SK Nong Chik. Encik Muhammad Hazim bin Aminuddin, Coordinator for e-Karnival Guidance and Career, SK Taman Segar. Puan Nur Syahrina binti Ahmad Tarmizi, Coordinator for e-Karnival Guidance and Career, SK Bukit Jalil. And Encik Muhammad Safwan bin Ibrahim, Coordinator for e-Karnival Guidance and Career, SK Nong Chik. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. For your information, Talk Series for Career Guidance focuses on the sharing from expert and skillful panel. The third Talk Series for Career Guidance, organized by Guidance and Counseling Unit from SK Taman Segar, SK Bukit Jalil, and SK Nong Chik. Without further ado, I would like to invite Cikgu Hazim Amir to conduct the session.
More businesses are opening. I think the mode of transportation is going slowly back to normal. But yeah, there are still a lot of restrictions going on. We still have to wear masks outside, face shields even. It's a government sanctioned thing to wear face shields in public places.
Hai, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera to all the viewers out there. My name is Cikgu Hazim Amir from Sekolah Kebangsaan Taman Segar, Kuala Lumpur. And today with me, we have Mr. Christian Lakza, who is working as a teacher at the La Salle Integrated Schools, Philippines. Hi, Mr. Christian, how are you?
Hi, Hazim. I'm fine. How about you?
I'm good too. So how's life in Philippines nowadays?
I think we're doing better than last year. More businesses are opening. I think the mode of transportation is going slowly back to normal. But yeah, there are still a lot of restrictions going on. We still have to wear masks outside, face shields even. It's a government sanctioned thing to wear face shields in public places. And social gatherings are still allowed, but to a limited extent, like 10 people, 15 people.
Oh, I see. So how the vaccination programs over there?
The vaccination program is still ongoing. I think the status of vaccination here in the Philippines depends on the city or the municipality. Um, in Metro Manila, I think there are a lot of people who have been vaccinated already. Um, I think because we have a priority list, and I think they've opened up the vaccination program to the third up to the fifth priorities. So I think we're faring pretty much good in terms of vaccination.
I see. So how about all the teachers or students or pupils in Philippines? Are they already get the vaccine, or how is it?
For teachers, I already got vaccinated, but that's because I have asthma, so I have comorbidity. So I'm part of like
Oh,
the second priority list. So I got vaccinated earlier than most of us. But for teachers and students, most of them have not been vaccinated yet, except if they have comorbidities, because the priority list um, on top of the priority list rather are the senior citizens and people living with comorbidities to COVID-19. Institutionally, because the vaccination program in the Philippines is not only government sanctioned, there are also private institutions that vaccinize their employees. For De La Salle University Integrated School, I think we'll start vaccinating our students and teachers by mid this year up until like third, fourth quarter of this year.
oh, I see. Okay, that is a great information to know. Okay, so I think it's just the same like Malaysia. Most of the teachers are on the way to get vaccinated. All right, and then I think maybe government will take an actions to give the vaccine for all the children. I mean, like the pupils and the students at schools, but
Yep.
in a pace. So
Yep.
So, okay, to all the viewers out there, today we are having Mr. Christian. Mr. Christian is a teacher at De La Salle Integrated Schools in Philippines. So basically, we are here today to discuss about the world of education. Um, so we are actually in a program that we call as a talk series for carers and guidance. So basically, this talk series give the exposure to all the pupils or students out there who might still confused with like the ambitions, what you want to be when you grow up, or maybe for those who are in high schools, you might be wondering what is the other professions that you can get into after you finish your SPM or examinations. All right, so today, without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Christian Lakza, or we call it as what we call you as Teacher Christian or Mr. Christian, or how is it?
Ian, just call me Ian.
Oh, Ian. Okay, Ian.
Yeah,
So,
Ian is okay.
all right. So without further ado, I would like to invite Ian to share a little bit of, to introduce himself to all the viewers out there.
Okay. I'm Ian. My long name is Christian Lakza. I'm currently teaching grades 11 and 12 students at the De La Salle University Integrated School. Um, when I started teaching, I handled courses in English and communication. But now because of my ongoing master's degree, I'm now handling social science courses. Um, I graduated from the Philippine Normal University. That's where Hazim and I met, when they visited the Philippines. Um, so yeah, I think that's everything that I wish to say about me at the moment.
All right. So thank you, thank you, Ian, for the information that you have shared with us. So I would like to ask a question actually. So previously, okay, during your school, I mean, like in your high schools or your elementary schools, um, to be a teacher, is it your real ambition, or you have other ambitions that you want to achieve? However, you stick on this lane, or how is it?
Um, I think the funny thing is when I was about to finish high school, when I was searching for universities and programs that I could take for college, um, education or becoming a teacher is really one of the things that I would like to do. But I feel like back then, it could be like a spare ambition, something that I could like set aside for a while. Because in the Philippines, you can still become a licensed teacher even if you don't graduate with a teacher's degree. You just take like 30 units in college, like around 10 courses, 10 subjects in college, and then you're allowed to take the licensure examination. Um, so since I viewed the education program, like teacher education program, back then as a spare ambition, I did not really prioritize it. I never recalled a single university application that I submitted, specifically applying for a teacher, except for Philippine Normal University because PNU only offers education. So I tried, no, I tried to pursue other ambitions. Back then, I was really convinced to take up communication at the University of the Philippines, and I passed. No, back then, the UP examination was very very competitive. So I have no assurance whatsoever if I'm going to pass the UP examination. So I'm not really sure if I'll get into UP. But if I'll get into UP, I'll definitely take communication. Since I'm treating education or becoming a teacher as a spare ambition, at the back of my mind, I was saying that if I don't pass UP, I'll go to Philippine Normal University because it's a state university, and that's
Okay. Sadly, I think yeah. So the wired connection was supposed to be like stronger and more reliable, but apparently it's not. Anyway, so there. So as I was saying, when I entered um, PNU, I don't have any major yet. So I'm taking general education courses, preparing me to become either a teacher, a guidance counselor, or a librarian. Okay. So by the time comes, when I have to take the qualifying examination for for these specializations, I tried calling my scholarship benefactor and asked them if I could take up psychology, and then they said no. Still, they still said no. So okay, so no matter how hard I try to move away from becoming a teacher, I think destiny always brings me back here. And then, as I was saying also a while ago, or earlier, um, before I graduated, several months before I marched in my graduation, I asked my mom if I could, not teach for a while, take up law, prioritize my legal studies before I go back to teaching, if ever I still wish to teach. And then initially she said yes, but when after I graduated, like right after I graduated, she talked to me and asked me to teach. So up until now, I'm still teaching and I'm still not pursuing law. Hopefully next year after graduating from my master's degree, but I'm taking up communication now. So my realization was, if there is something that is really for you, no matter how hard you go like farther away from it, it'll hunt you. It'll come after you. It'll chase you. Okay, and if it's really for you, like becoming a teacher was one of my dreams, but it wasn't my ultimate dream. But right now, it's the thing that I do. It's the thing that I do, and the thing that I enjoy, because I wouldn't stay here for 4 years if I think I don't enjoy teaching. Yeah.
Right, it is a good sharing from Ian, because as for me, I always told my pupils at my schools, I said to them, whatever that you want to be in the future, I mean, like whatever your ambition is, you need to have an extra plan for that, because maybe what you want to achieve or what you want to be in the future, it doesn't mean to be for you. So we need to be always have an extra plan. All right. So thank you, Ian, for the sharing. So when we are talking about school system, can Ian share a little bit with us at what age that you finish and further your study to become a teacher?
Okay, so I'm part of the second to the last batch that have undergone a 10-year basic education program. Because starting, 2 years after my batch, the students already had to take 12 years of basic education. So that means they needed to finish kinder plus grades 1 to 12. But in my case, I only finished kinder, then grades 1 to 10. Then I could go to college after that. So by the time I graduate, I think I was 20 years old. I passed the licensure examination at age 21. And I entered graduate school still at 21 years old. So it only took me like 10 years, grades 1 to 10, plus 4 years in college to become a teacher. But right now it's different. No? They needed to take grades 1 to 12, and then 4 years in college, and then take the licensure examination. So by the time they become teachers, for the new batch, I think they're already like 23, 24 years old.
I see. Okay. So can you share with us a little bit? I mean, like, what is the most valuable lessons that you learn for the transitions? I mean, like, when you have a conflict between yourself and what you want to do, what you want to be, what you want to achieve in the future, and at the same time you face some difficulties. So what the other things that you I mean, like, maybe one day if you can go back to the history and meet yourself, so what you want to say to yourself, and what is the the motivations that you can give, the advice and the most valuable lessons that you get from there?
Okay. Firstly, about conflicts with myself and the things that are happening to me. Well, I'm the kind of person who always has a plan. I'm the kind of person who always looks ahead. Sort of like the person who has a vision. So that means that I'm not sure how this would go with you and the rest of those who are going to view this interview, but my life is more or less structured. So I always try to be ahead of the things that are going to happen. Like, for example, when I entered the university, when I entered college, my clear plan was to graduate with honors. So I already know that I had to graduate with honors, and I had to align all my activities towards graduating with honors. So as early as I think first year in college, I already am tracking my grades, and I already am, trying to estimate, whether I need to exert more effort for the next term. Are there subjects that I can easily ace? Which subjects should I focus on, so that I could attain my goal? And then my end goal was really to provide for my family, which I'm currently doing now. Of course, I'm not like fully providing everything to them, but at least I'm helping them. That's my ultimate goal. And back then, I was thinking that I cannot market myself fairly. Like, I could not get a good salary if I don't get good academic standings. So that was my plan. So I already have a long-term plan, and then I align all my activities towards that plan. So I think the likelihood of me not getting something that I want is less likely as compared to those who are my age who still don't know what they wanted to do. Just like in my sharing earlier, I already have plan A and plan B. And then if plan A doesn't work, then I still have plan B. And like right now, after I graduate, I did not achieve my plan A back then, which is to take up education in UP. But after graduation, I immediately enrolled in the communication program of UP. So I try my best to achieve what I envisioned myself to achieve. earlier in my years. So I still think up to this day that I don't have any regrets. I don't regret taking up education. I don't regret not going to UP. I don't regret taking my scholarship back then. I don't regret receiving rejections, no, in as regards my scholarship benefactor back then, because all of those I think happened to me so that I could achieve my goals in life. Like right now, I am looking forward to graduating next year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Hopefully, I graduate next year in my graduate school. And my next plan was to achieve my ultimate goal, which is to enter law school. So, and in the Philippines, I think when I already have a master's degree, that I could go to employment opportunities that will give me flexibility, so that I could work and study law at the same time. Because as a teacher, I think you could relate to this. As a teacher, or my time is not really that flexible. Unlike if I go to college to teach in college, I think my time would be more flexible there. But in teaching in grades 11 and 12, it's not as flexible. So it's not really ideal to teach in the basic education and study law at the same time. Okay, so my plan is right after graduating from my master's degree is to go to college, teach there, and then take up law. Okay, and then after I take up law, then I still continue my advocacies, because right now I'm working with an indigenous community here in the Philippines. I'm part of a 5-year development program. I'm one of the project proponents. So I still wish to pursue it sooner, like 3, 4, 5 years from now. I may not be teaching in grades 11 and 12 anymore, or in the basic education for that matter, but I'll still engage in non-formal education for the young. Like as I have shared to you, like the teacher in me will live on, when I start doing more community projects with indigenous peoples, with disenfranchised communities, less privileged people. In fact, I was volunteering in a weekend school here in the Philippines, but then I had conflict with my schedule in my academics, in my master's degree. I had conflicts with schedule, so I had to stop. So yeah, I feel like if I could go back in time and meet myself back then, I wouldn't have any regrets. I think I would, to some degree, I would be proud of myself, because I have planned ahead. I have had a vision of myself. So a reflection or an advice that I could give our viewers right now, I think there are like grade 4, 5, and 6 students. Am I correct? Okay. As early as now, build your dreams. Know where you want to be. Well, it's like tentative. Right now, you don't have an exposure to the world as much as I did when I was in high school or in college already. Or when you start working, you'll have more exposure, you'll have more ideas about the world. But right now, you have to set a plan already. You have to know your goals. My dream of becoming a lawyer was conceptualized when I was grade 3. So as early as 3rd grade, I already know that I want to be a lawyer. And there's no lawyer in my family. I just feel like I want to be a lawyer. And that's the dream that I still hold on until today. And becoming a teacher and becoming a development communicator, working with the indigenous communities, I think are just stepping stones into becoming a lawyer. So start dreaming, start planning right now, and then align the things that you do, align all your activities towards that goal. Like if you want to be a teacher, if you want to become a teacher, then do everything that you can to excel in academics. Because my biggest advice to you is that teachers should be smart. If you're not performing well in academics, I'm not sure if you're ready to become a teacher, because as a teacher, you will touch the lives of the young. And if you're not really academically performing, then how can you inspire them to perform well also in academics? No, but that's just my perspective. So if you want to be a teacher, then perform well now in academics. Study diligently, study strategically, and then becoming a teacher will be easier than what you think it could be. Or if you want to be a doctor, then focus on the sciences, no, without losing track of the social realities, no, because I think most people in STEM tend to forget about society in general. Don't forget that whatever it is that you are dreaming of right now, whatever it is that you have envisioned yourself to right now, to become right now, you're doing it not just for yourself, no, not just for yourself, but you're also doing it for the people around you, the community around you. Just a sharing story, Hazib. I think I'm taking too much of your time already.
It's okay, never mind.
When choosing my specialization, when I was in college, I was torn between choosing English, biology, or chemistry back then. But I chose English over biology and chemistry, primarily because my thinking was, if I were to take up chemistry or biology, could I become an ideal teacher inside the classroom? Could my students benefit from me if I teach biology or chemistry? Because my goal of taking up or specializing in biology or chemistry would be just so I could study biology or chemistry. So that's very selfish of me. But as a teacher, you have to think beyond yourself. So I chose English because that was my strength. I think back then I performed well in writing and speaking. So what dawned on me was, what I realized was, if I were to become an English teacher, then my students could learn more from me. My students could have an ideal teacher inside the classroom, because that's my strength, and I needed to impart what I have, what I strongly have, no, to my students. And I think I wouldn't be as effective if I were to become a biology or chemistry teacher, as compared to the kind of teacher that I am now as an English or social science teacher. So dream, right now, dream, tailor fit, align your activities towards that dream, and then know that your dream will not impact your life exclusively, but the impact of your dream will extend to those who are around you. Dream for your parents, dream for your siblings, and dream for the community where you belong. I think, just for a context, I think this has been, my running idea about how to dream, because for the longest time I lived in Avota City. It's a city in Metro Manila, that has experienced poverty for the longest time also. So it's a place for urban poor communities. So I saw and experienced poverty firsthand. So when I was trying to formulate my dreams, to realize the kind of dream, the kind of person that I want to be 10 years, 15 years from now, I could not dissociate myself from the experiences that I've seen and felt firsthand. So this sounds easy, this sounds noble, but it's difficult if if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a strategy, behind you. And I think you may have doubts as to whether you could achieve your dreams. If you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a lawyer, I know that it costs a lot, and you may have reservations in taking up or pursuing these dreams, these big dreams. I'm sure that we have different circumstances, but my life wasn't easy. As I told you, I live in an urban poor community in about the city for the longest time. I had to go to a state university and avail of scholarships just so I could study college and finish college. So yeah, but that's because I have a plan. That's because my end goal is clear. So the way towards my end goal becomes clear also along the way towards achieving my path. Towards achieving my dream. So yeah, just dream, know your dream, have a clear vision of yourself, and everything will follow. It's easy to determine the way to go if you already know your destination. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ian. So it is a good sharing that Ian have shared with us, because maybe we live in a different country, we live in a different norms and culture. However, some of us might face with the same difficulties. The most important thing is to become a teacher in Malaysia. You need to have a certification, which is either you go for a diploma or undergraduate programs in education that recognized by the Ministry of Education of Malaysia. So either in government institutions or even in a public university. And then for those who want to be a teacher, they need to go for a certain process where they have to get to be interviewed by the ministry and so on. So can you are you there?
Hello? Hazim?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me?
Sorry, I got disconnected again. I think.
It's okay, no problem. No problem.
Okay, sorry,
Okay.
could you please repeat? Sorry.
Okay, so can you share with us what is the process to become a teacher in Philippines? Is there any interviews or to get the license? How is it? How is the process?
Okay, so the process to becoming a teacher here in the Philippines starts when you enter college. You have to take a degree in education. Normally in the Philippines, there are 2 degrees that you could pursue to become a teacher. It's 3 degrees. 3 degrees. Bachelor in Early Childhood Education, if you wish to teach kindergarten up until grade 3 students or pupils. You take Bachelor in Elementary Education, if you wish to teach grades 4 to 6 pupils. And then you take Bachelor in Secondary Education if you wish to teach grades 10 to, grade 7 to 10, I think, because if you wish to teach in the senior high school in the Philippines, like grades 11 and 12, the normal qualification is for you to at least have taken courses in masters, for your master's degree. But in the Philippine Normal University, in my case, because my university is one. It's the National Center for Teacher Education in the Philippines. So it's the one that formulates policies in teacher education. So my degree was different. I took up Bachelor in English Education. I'm specializing in senior high school. So I was allowed to teach in the senior high school area, even if I don't have a master's degree yet, because I'm a specialized teacher already for senior high school. So after graduating, you take the licensure examination for teachers. And I think it usually takes 3 months for the results to be released. And then if you pass, then you become a professional teacher already. You're now regulated by the state. But there's also another way into becoming a teacher. Even if you did not finish an education degree, you can still become a teacher if you take, I think, like 10 courses, 10 subjects in college, like a diploma program that would prepare you to take up the licensure examination for teacher. Usually, these subjects are just, allied to the education field. So you don't take specialized courses anymore. You just take generic teaching courses like curriculum, assessment, pedagogy, like the way to teach, technology in teaching, etc., etc. Now, to becoming a teacher in the Philippines, if you wish to become a public school teacher, then it is required that you have a license. You cannot teach in the public school here in the Philippines if you don't have a valid teaching license. But the case is different for private schools because private schools allow teachers to not have license when they enter. And then the policy, the regulations for retention differ from school to school. Like for example, in my school, De La Salle University Integrated School, I started teaching already. I became a teacher even without a license yet. I started teaching in June 2018. I got my license in December 2018. So I had 6 months of being a teacher without a license. No, colorum, like an illegal teacher though. No, it's legal in the Philippines for private schools. Like, um, but in the Philippines, in my university, um, in De La Salle University Integrated School, in my school, um, my contract will not be renewed if I don't pass the licensure examination in a year. So if I failed my first take of the licensure examination, then I wouldn't be allowed to continue teaching in my university, in my school. Okay, but for some private schools in the Philippines, they allow until 3 years. Most of them, now most of them allow, and I think that's the maximum also. 3 years. No, within 3 years, if you don't have a license yet to teach, then you could not get renewed. You don't get your contract renewed. So you just go look for another school that would accept you, private school that would accept you.
All right. Thank you, Ian. It is a good sharing. Which is, as for me, being an educator in Malaysia, I mean, like being a teacher in Malaysia, I think the process is almost the same, which is you need to get a certification in education, basically, and then you need to sit for an interview and examinations. If you pass the interview and examinations, then you will be offered to become a teacher. That's for the government schools. Ian, the last questions that I want to ask to you. Do you have any good experience or bad experience that you still remember until now during your, during your work becoming a teacher?
Okay. Hello, can you hear me? Am I still audible?
I can hear you.
So let's start with the good experiences first. I think the best experience that I had as a teacher was when we started the program that the development, the community engagement program that we implemented together with the indigenous peoples community here in the Philippines. Like we call them AITA, that's AYTA, the AITA community here in the Philippines. And then because those who study in De La Salle University Integrated School are those who are well off. I have students who are actors and actresses. I have students who were sons and daughters of of politicians, of businessmen, etc., etc. So they don't usually get to interact with the minorities, the disenfranchised communities. So as a teacher, I was able to expose them, I think, to a certain extent, to social realities, and I inspired them. I would like to believe that I inspired them to also contribute something to society. That just because they're comfortable with their lives doesn't mean that they don't have the responsibility to look after the lives of other people who are suffering or who may be suffering also. That's one of the best experiences that I had as a teacher. The second good experience that I had as a teacher would be, whenever your students would still talk to you after handling their courses, their subjects, and then they still catch up with you. They still ask how you're doing, and I think that's where the value of being a teacher lies. Because as a teacher, you can teach content, you can teach concepts and theories to your students, but a teacher as a professional goes beyond just teaching inside the classroom. A teacher builds relationships with his or her students. And I think that's one of the most valuable things for a teacher, to forge lasting and strong relationships with their students. That's one good experience also. When people remember you, when your students remember you, that makes you feel like fulfilled as a teacher also. And I don't want to sound like I'm an old teacher already, because I'm already I'm only 24, turning 24 on December. But I think that makes me sound like an old teacher already. On the bad points, I think I only have one bad memory. It was during my first year, actually my first month of teaching. You see, I graduated from college and started to teach at age 20. And my students, being grades 11 and 12 students, um, were like 18, no, 17, 18, 19 years old. So basically a year, 2 years, or 3 years younger than I do. Diba? So 3 years, a year, 2 years, 3 years younger than me. So it's difficult when they know that you're a new teacher. It becomes even more difficult if they know that you're just almost their age, like their cousin or an older brother. So there was one instance when I was explaining the rubric, the grading system for a project, the scoring system for a project. And then there's this student who I think at the time was upset about the way I wished to score their output. Um, and she acted with very, very minimal respect. This is just one isolated case. That's why it marked in my memory, because this is an isolated case. The student was rather disrespectful. The student was rather aggressive, when trying to ask me questions about the way I wish to grade them. Um, but the rest of the class was, of course, trying to act on the situation. They're trying to appease, to calm down the student who was aggressive at that time. And then the student approached me by the end of actually not really the end of the day. The student approached me a couple of hours after our class to explain to me why was he behaving that way, what has happened to him. And then we have had a short conversation afterwards. And right now I think we're doing good. Whenever he sees me outside school, he still greets me. Yeah, that's one bad memory because it challenged my command inside the classroom because I was young. And these students were like 18, 19 years old, and I was 20. So I think that was my baptism of fire as a teacher.
All right, so that's what we call as experience that Ian have faced when he become a teacher. So I think we already almost to the end of our discussions today. So maybe Ian have something else to share with our viewers today as a conclusion.
Yep.
It's okay, no problem.
Okay. So my parting words would be in two ways. Okay, the first one is I wish to encourage you to take up education, to teach, because there's no other job that is more fulfilling than a teacher. I think that's my bias, because it's just a surreal experience. It's a fulfilling experience if you go inside the classroom with students expecting to learn, and then while you're teaching, you'll see like faces that tells you like they've realized something important. Like the aha moment. The aha moment, like while you're teaching, the students will just realize something that will change the way they look at things around them. That aha moment, and that's the most significant and most fulfilling moment for a teacher. And you won't get to see that in any other fields. Like if you become a doctor, during consultation, you'll feel like your patient is like scared because you're talking about health, etc., etc. But talking inside the classroom is more positive. Talking inside the classroom is more positive, and you're seeing a lot of good insights coming from the students, and it's also fulfilling to see the students go beyond their expectations. Like I've had a couple of students who were not really performing when they were grades 12 and 11, but when they enter college, they bloom. They become like leaders of organizations. They become academically excellent students. And you wouldn't get to experience this kind of fulfillment. It's difficult to explain if you're not in my position. But if you wouldn't you wouldn't feel this happiness that's not directed to you, directed to others if you're not a teacher. So you don't want to miss that opportunity. Um, so yeah, become a teacher, try teaching. If it's not for you, this is what I always tell my friends, because I have friends coming from other fields. I always encourage them to teach. And I tell them, especially those who are smart, those who are academically excellent, I always tell them to just try out teaching in basic education, for go to whatever it is that they want. Because after all, if you enter a class of 30 people, no, if you enter a class of 30 students, the ideas that you impart to them, the realizations that you impart to them, the experiences that you make them feel and see, will have a ripple effect. Will have a ripple effect. So the effect goes beyond the classroom, because students will talk about their lesson with their parents, with their friends, with the friends of their friends, and so on. So the difference that you make in society is bigger than what you can imagine. It becomes bigger than what you can imagine. You'll become influential in your society. Maybe the change will not directly be attributed to you. It may be like attributed to someone else, but um, it gives you also like a sense of pride that that person who may have inspired change in the community became your student or became a friend of your student, no, who learned something from you. Yeah, and you don't want to miss the chance to influence the young also and to help in their development. The second thing that I wish to tell you before we end this interview is to know your priorities. Again, even if you don't plan to take up education, even if you don't want to be a teacher, um, know where you want to be. It's difficult right now. It may be challenging at the moment, but at least have a general idea of who you want to be. If you want to help your parents, then good. At least you have a goal. If you want to make a difference in society, like for example, you're seeing a lot of injustices in your society, if you're seeing like infractions in society and you want to change them, if you want to change them, then that's good. That's good for a goal at the moment. And then you just tailor fit whatever it is that you do to achieve that goal, no, of bringing about change in society, bringing about change in your life and the life of those who are connected to you. So know your goal, make clear plans, have a vision. Have a vision. That's very, very important. Because what separates those who achieve more from those who achieve less is vision. If you don't have a dream, if you don't know where to go, you cannot go anywhere else. Right? Diba? Before you plan a trip, you should know where you're heading. And if you don't know where you're heading, it's difficult. It's a long, long way to go. Like you're just going to just go around places. So it makes a lot of difference if you already have a destination ahead of you, if you know where to go. Yeah, so I think that's everything that I wish to say for this interview.
All right, thank you so much, Ian, for the sharing and also a little bit tips for all the pupils and students or all the viewers out there. So I hope what we have shared today can you guys can get benefit from it. So I think that's all from us for today. So until we meet again, thank you, Ian.
Thank you also. Thank you also, and keep safe. I'm wishing Malaysia well.
All right.
I hope the pandemic stops sooner.